is 1010music Bento, and 1010music sent me over one device so I can implement the multi-sample support in ConvertWithMoss. If you have never heard about ConvertWithMoss, it's a totally free and open source tool to convert different kinds of multi-samples like Contact, FFZ, Korg formats, native instruments formats, and many more to these same other formats. So now also the Bento is supported. I already supported before the black box, as well as all the other derivatives they have, which have a multi-sample format. They are now in option black box, and you can also read and write the Bento format. If you are curious about the device, I could also do an in-depth review about it, but that's not part of this video. If you expect that, just tell me down in the comments if you're interested in what this device can do. It came already a long way. It was very limited in the beginning, but they added lots of features now, and it's getting more and more interesting. But in this video, we want to look into converting sounds with ConvertWithMoss for the Bento and checking them out. So what is supported? We are looking here in the destination, using it as a destination because it's a more interesting direction. But you could also sample on the device itself and then read it also with ConvertWithMoss. But let's have a look at the other direction. First, we're going to look at a single preset sound. So I take my usual Contact library I created myself with some, maybe with some choir sounds here, and let's convert them for the Bento. So settings are the same as with black box. You can choose between this playback interpolation quality, which takes more resources if you go to high. And the Bento uses the same internal format as a black box, so it uses 24-bit 48 kilohertz, and to improve loading time with the device, so it does not have to convert it to that format. You can choose it here to convert it directly now in your conversion process, and you are basically ready to go on the Bento. And since the Bento, also similar as a black box, does not support play, start, and end for samples, you can choose here to trim this part which is not needed in the sample itself and shorten the sample, which makes sense anyway. So let's do that. So we are converting some sound. I think that's already enough, so we can cancel the process. We don't need all of them. And another thing I want to do first, before we have a look at how these sounds turned out, but we can always have a look at the output. So here are the converted choir sounds. Let's put them in a subfolder, let's say choir, so we can find them easier. The other thing that's possible, like with the black box, is that you can also create performances, which means here with that input, which is possible with Contact, you have several Contact instruments in one performance. So they have playback ranges, and you can also convert it to these different tracks. So you have up to 8 tracks here on the Bento. For example, here I create a little test project with 3 tracks, and you can have up to 8. So you can convert up to 8 layers into the Bento, for example, from Contact or from Yamaha or TX16WX into the Bento. You could also convert it from the black box, for example, but the black box has 16 slots and here we have 8. So that's a limitation. We only have 8. And yeah, we could do that as well. So I have also some examples from my band Arilyn. Let's find them. Live Arilyn Contact. So let's choose that directory. There's plenty of there in there, which such multi-layer setups, and let's convert them as well. So let's stop that. We already have enough as well. And now how do we get these sounds on the Bento? You simply go to Project, and there you can click on this little burger icon, and there you find the option to switch to the SD reader mode. By the way, I hope you can see what's happening on the screen because it's like a mirror. and I really had a hard time trying to film it. And yeah, it's not that bad when you look at it in reality, but on the camera it's really, really tough, and I would need a black ceiling, I think, to film it. But nevertheless, we have now the card reader, hopefully, here on my Windows PC. There should be, and here it is, here's a bento. And there you can put the sounds where you like them. For example, here in user patches, and there in this some inst folder, you can put here your files. I already put in here some other conversion tests, and let's add the new ones here from the output folder. So we have here some choir sounds, so let's add them as well. So, and we also have the output of this performance conversion, and this is a bit more tricky because you have, for one, you have the projects folder where you have the project covering these different tracks, but you also need the samples, and they cannot be in projects. At least I could not find so far a solution to put them as well in the project. So you need to have them in the user patches and the samp inst folder as well. And just to give you an example, I copy the chaos files, and I think they can be loaded from a subfolder there. So let's give that a shot if that works for loading. I think yes. So let's copy over this chaos folder, and let's also copy over the project. So here we have the chaos project to the project folder. Here it is, chaos, and it's already finished. So we can now remove the card. So remove it. It's still in use. Now it's done. It's done. Okay. And on the bento, we have to press here this button to reboot it. So, and after rebooting that, you need to unplug the output and replug it simply. And this does fix it. I hope there's also a fix for that, because it's a bit annoying to do as well. But let's load an empty project with which we can check our created sounds. So here's already an empty one. Let's load that. There is nothing on the track. And you can double click it to open the browser. And here you already see the created sounds. For example, let's load this 01W choir, and we have it here. So we can play it here with the buttons, or we can play it with the keyboard. And then for sure you can also tweak it. So for example, we could increase the release. And you could add effects to it. So for example, let's add some reverb on the mixer. So this works nicely. Now let's also try to load the project. I copied it over. Here we go. It's chaos, chaos, chaos. Here it is, load. And here you see we have lots of different sounds on the bento. Oh, here's something. And I have them on different MIDI channels, and there's one issue. I had in the source file some of these layers set to Omni, so it plays on all MIDI channels, and some one are set to 1 and one are set to 2. And sadly, in contrast to the black box, there is currently no MIDI Omni mode. So for example, if you have a look at, let's go with the biblical sound, let's check them out, track settings. Config track. Oh no, we have it on MIDI channel 2, so let's try MIDI channel 2. So as you see, most of the sounds are working, but here's another issue I noticed is there's actually a performance problem. So if you have multiple tracks with multi-samples, which even don't do anything or don't take really much performance, we are getting distortion, but this might also be because they might be too loud here. Reverb level. Yeah, I talked to 1010 Music about the issue, and they told me, yeah, they have work to do on the multi-sample playback as well, and they hope to improve that in the future. But currently, to have such a big setup might give you problems. I think up to 3 or 4 multi-samples work fine, but if you have a full setup, it somehow gets a problem. I don't know why currently. Finally, let's also have a look what's possible with the format. There are also some limitations. It's based on the black box, which was not that bad. But we have some more issues currently with the Bento format because some parameters are only globally available. For example, if you have fine-tuning pitch on each sample, it's not possible currently. It's only available on the whole instrument. And the same is true for panning position and the gain. So you cannot have different gains on the individual samples, and also the playback direction, which is normally an uncommon feature to use. But what is more problematic, loop modes. For example, if you have a one shot, it's only possible also to set it currently for the whole set. So you can only say, I want to have everything one shot or nothing. Which might be also fine, but for example, if you have sounds like on the Roland D50, where you had one shot in the beginning and then a longer loop with a different sound, this is currently not possible. And I talked also about this with 1010 Music, and they also need to work on that. They replied, and let's hope it's not in a too far future. But nevertheless, if you want to bring in your sounds into the Bento, this is now already working nicely. You cannot use too much of them currently, strangely, but nevertheless, it's working, and you can start with using your own multi-samples in the Bento. Yeah, what do you think? Tell me down in the comments, and until next time, make some funky music.